Welcome back to Mangevity, where we explore men's health topics that truly matter but rarely get honest attention. Today we're talking about something that affects millions of men, yet is often misunderstood or avoided in conversation: ejaculation control. Before you assume this is just another quick fix video, stay with me, because what you're about to hear is grounded in real science. We're going to break down what actually happens inside the male body during sexual arousal, why some men climax in just a couple of minutes. Quick disclaimer, this is educational content based on research. If you have serious concerns, talk to a healthcare provider. This isn't about gimmicks or miracle tricks. It's about understanding the biological systems that determine ejaculation timing and learning how to work with your body instead of fighting against it. One thing many men never realize is that ejaculation isn't simply something that randomly happens. It's a complex reflex controlled by the nervous system, influenced by hormones, and shaped by signals traveling between the brain, the spinal cord, and the pelvic nerves. If you tend to climax quickly, it doesn't mean you're weak or broken. It simply means your nervous system responds to stimulation in a certain way. Some men are naturally born with a more sensitive ejaculatory reflex, similar to how some people are naturally more sensitive to touch or more ticklish than others. But here's the important part. The nervous system is capable of learning and adapting. Just like muscles become stronger with exercise and endurance improves with training, the neural pathways involved in ejaculation can also be conditioned. Researchers who study male sexual physiology have found something fascinating. Two major branches of the nervous system play a role in sexual function. The first is the sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for the body's fight or flight response. The second is the parasympathetic nervous system, which supports relaxation and recovery. During sexual arousal, the parasympathetic system is usually dominant. This relaxed state allows blood vessels in the penis to expand and produce an erection. As arousal builds toward orgasm, however, the sympathetic system begins to activate. That shift is what triggers the ejaculatory reflex. In simple terms, ejaculation happens when the body switches from a relaxed arousal state to a rapid activation state. Men who climax quickly often experience this switch too early or too strongly. Stimulation rises, the sympathetic system activates, and the reflex occurs sooner than expected. Understanding this switch is the first step toward gaining control. Once you begin to recognize the physical sensations that signal the shift is approaching, you can respond before reaching the point of no return. Developing this awareness is powerful because it allows you to influence what happens next. A helpful way to think about it is learning to drive a manual transmission car. At first, you may stall the engine because you can't feel the clutch properly. But once your senses adapt and you understand the timing, shifting gears becomes smooth and natural. Ejaculation control follows a similar learning process. Now let's explore what happens at the chemical and hormonal level, because this is where the science becomes even more interesting and helps explain why certain techniques actually work. Inside the brain, there is a neurotransmitter called serotonin that plays a major role in ejaculation timing. Serotonin functions almost like a braking system. Higher serotonin activity tends to delay ejaculation, while lower levels can make climax happen more quickly. This is one reason certain antidepressant medications, known as SSRIs, often have delayed ejaculation as a side effect because they increase serotonin activity in the brain. This doesn't mean medication is necessary, but it does highlight how brain chemistry influences sexual performance. Stress and anxiety can shift the balance of these chemicals. When someone is under pressure or worried about performance, the body releases stress hormones that can disrupt serotonin pathways and increase the likelihood of early climax. Another important chemical messenger is dopamine. Dopamine is associated with pleasure, motivation, and sexual excitement. In many ways, it acts like the accelerator of the sexual response system, increasing arousal and pushing the body closer to orgasm. The balance between dopamine and serotonin helps determine how long someone can remain in the plateau stage of arousal before ejaculation occurs. But the story doesn't stop in the brain. The spinal cord also contains a specialized network, sometimes called the ejaculatory generator. This group of nerve cells processes signals from the genitals and the brain and decides when the reflex should activate. Within this network exists something scientists describe as the ejaculatory threshold. Think of it like a trigger point. When stimulation and nerve signals rise above that threshold, the reflex fires automatically. Some men naturally have a lower threshold, meaning less stimulation is required to reach ejaculation. Others have a higher threshold and can tolerate stronger or longer stimulation before climax occurs. The encouraging news is that this threshold is not permanently fixed. Through repeated practice and conditioning, it can gradually change. One method researchers often discuss is edging, which involves approaching orgasm and then pausing stimulation before crossing the point of no return. During this process, the nervous system learns to handle higher levels of arousal without activating the reflex. This is an example of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and form new neural pathways through repetition. Each time someone approaches climax and then allows arousal to decrease, the nervous system becomes more familiar with those sensations. Over time, this awareness can raise the ejaculatory threshold and increase control. Another important factor is the pelvic floor muscles. These muscles support the pelvic organs and play a direct role in ejaculation. When orgasm occurs, these muscles contract rhythmically to expel semen. However, many men unknowingly tighten these muscles as arousal increases, which can push the body closer to climax faster than expected. Understanding the role of the pelvic floor muscles opens the door to one of the most overlooked strategies for improving ejaculation control. When arousal rises and the body prepares for orgasm, these muscles often tense automatically. Relaxing the pelvic floor sends calming signals through the nervous system and can delay the reflex for valuable extra time. This relaxation technique is commonly called a reverse Kegel. While traditional Kegel exercises strengthen the pelvic floor by contracting the muscles, reverse Kegels focus on consciously releasing and relaxing them. Developing this ability can interrupt the chain reaction that leads to ejaculation when arousal rises too quickly. Applying the science of ejaculation control comes down to several practical habits that work with the body's natural systems. The first is developing awareness of arousal levels. Instead of moving from mild excitement straight to climax, it helps to think of arousal as a scale from 1 to 10. Most men only notice levels 9 and 10, but learning to recognize when arousal reaches 6 or 7 allows time to slow down before reaching the point of no return. The second strategy is controlling breathing. Breathing patterns have a direct impact on the nervous system. Slow, deep breathing from the diaphragm activates the parasympathetic system and maintains a calm state of arousal. Rapid, shallow breathing does the opposite and stimulates the sympathetic response that leads to ejaculation. By keeping breathing slow and steady, the body remains in a controlled state longer. A third strategy is regular pelvic floor training. Practicing both Kegel and reverse Kegel exercises builds awareness and control of the muscles involved in ejaculation. Performing 10 repetitions of each exercise several times a day can gradually improve muscle coordination and sensitivity. Finally, practicing the start-stop technique during masturbation allows men to train their nervous system without pressure. This involves stimulating yourself until you approach orgasm, then stopping completely and allowing arousal to settle before beginning again. Repeating this cycle several times teaches the brain and spinal cord to remain calm even during high levels of stimulation. The goal is not to become a performance machine or to prolong intimacy endlessly. The real benefit is having the ability to choose when you climax, rather than feeling like the body is deciding for you. When awareness, relaxation, and practice come together, confidence naturally follows. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.